G'day viewers, I'm making one of my rare calm videos today, even though it's a topic that makes me genuinely very angry. But I don't want to do any performative anger in this, in case it makes people think I'm cheapening the topic or trying to cash in.
Performative anger? I thought I could smell crocodile tears last time you got performatively angry at me.
Wrap some barbed wire around your fist and jam it up your own ass, you disgusting, fucked up, racist piece of shit. I have learned in the past doing this type of thing, just calmly trying to reason with a particular group of men, has next to no effect on them because they're so entrenched in their ways. For the people who say to me, you shouldn't shout and be angry all the time, you should be reasonable. It doesn't reach people much more effectively, and honestly, the shouting tends to make me happier.
Look mate, if being aggressive makes you happy, then go ahead and yell. I don't mind.
For today, I'm going to do this calmly.
Okay, let's maybe get to the point then.
There were 2 murders of women in Melbourne last week. One young woman murdered by a stranger on her way home from work, and one woman apparently murdered by her housemate. In both cases, the apparent perpetrator is 19 years old, and that in and of itself is really disturbing. 19-year-old murderers. Whenever cases like these come up, there will always be someone, in fact many someones, who talk about what the victim should have done or shouldn't have done. It was domestic violence. She shouldn't have stayed with him. It was someone killed at night walking alone. She shouldn't have been out by herself.
I haven't heard anyone say anything like that. What I have heard are a heap of dickheads getting angry at the police for giving practical advice.
Take responsibility for your safety. Make sure that you have situational awareness. Make sure that people know where you are, and that, you know, if you've got a mobile phone, carry it.
People have somehow interpreted this as victim blaming, but he wasn't saying that the victim should have done these things or that she's any way to blame for what happened. He's simply hammering home some common sense advice because he doesn't want to see this happen to anyone else.
What you need to understand when you talk about women need to take more care of their safety, women are always taking care of their safety all the time because they're pretty much constantly under threat. Women can't do a lot more to stop these murderers.
How do you know there wasn't some chick who heard what that cop said and thought, oh yeah, tell people where I am, forgot about that one? He's not doing anyone any harm, is he?
What's needed is recognition this is gendered violence and the perpetrators are overwhelmingly men.
It's recognised. About 78% of murders in Australia are committed by men. Nobody's hiding that fact.
And it's men who need to be addressed.
No, it's murderers who need to be addressed. And we do. We put them in jail. Why would men in general need to be addressed about murder when the vast majority of men would never even dream of murdering anyone? I mean, it's not unusual for men to commit more murders than women. That's pretty consistent around the world. And it's not like we're experiencing some sort of murder epidemic. Australia's got a very low murder rate of 0.94 people per 100,000. The UK's murder rate is 1.2 people per 100,000. The US 5.35 per 100,000. Russia 10.82 per 100,000. And South Africa 33.97 per 100,000.
What's happening is male violence is normalised and men are not held accountable for their violent actions.
How is male violence normalised? Both of the alleged murderers from last week have been charged with murder. They'll both probably end up with very lengthy prison sentences. You're speaking out of your ass. I bet you don't even attempt to back that statement up.
Guys, when you respond to any conversation about violence against women with any variation of not all men, or you get into whataboutism, you are the problem. I'm sick of saying you're part of the problem. You are the problem. You are the core of the problem.
You don't think the people doing the raping and the murdering are the problem?
The attitude that the victim of violence bears any responsibility at all is offensive, and it empowers the perpetrators of these acts.
It seems like you're conflating these two things. Saying not all men are rapists and murderers is in no way the equivalent of saying it's the victim's fault.
When you say, well, why are you saying all men do these things? I've never done it. You're being unfair to all men. What the perpetrators hear is, it isn't my fault. Women are at fault. This wouldn't happen if women weren't like the way they are.
That's ridiculous. And how the fuck would you know anyway?
These guys, they do not see themselves as monsters. And that's the other dangerous thing. The othering of murderers and rapists. Saying, oh, only some evil monster will do that. So why is it when convicted rapists and murderers, particularly in high profile cases, are convicted and are up for sentencing, you get people giving testimonials on their behalf, and you hear the same phrases over and over. This isn't the man I know. You know what? It is. And that's the entire problem right there. That is the man you knew. That is always who he was. And the idea that the perpetrators of violent rape or murder need to be defended because you think they're essentially good, that is the entire problem.
Hang on, the purpose of a testimonial is to give an honest account to the court. Would you expect them to say, he's always been a monster, I knew he'd end up being a murderer, if that isn't the case?
And I have to say, quite frankly, if your constant reaction to discussions of violence against women is to defend men and blame women,
you don't seem to realise you can do one of those things without doing the other.
I don't believe you're innocent of being a predator or a harasser.
Said the male feminist.
In simple terms, men need to take responsibility for gendered violence.
Angry, you'll probably dismiss this video as some sort of misogynist troll attack, but do us all a solid and just answer this one question. Do all Muslims need to take responsibility for ISIS?
When people are trying to talk about the gendered nature of violence, when you try and equivocate, when you make excuses, when you try to derail the conversation, you are the friend and ally of the rapist and the murderer. I refuse to pussyfoot around that, okay? That is what you, at the very least, you are an active enabler of rapists and murderers.
So if you're not keen on the idea of society taking the default position that every boy will grow up to be some depraved monster, and so we better get to them early so we can educate all the rape and murder out of them, then you are a friend and ally of actual rapists and murderers? You've lost your fucking mind, Angry.
Women aren't going to be made safer even if they carry guns. Women are only going to be made safer when more men understand that this behaviour isn't acceptable, and it's up to men to carry this message forward.
Men understand that murder and rape aren't acceptable, Angry, you condescending cunt. The ones we need to worry about are the ones that don't care. And male feminists.
Recession, session!